Hello. If you're a university student, you know how it feels to face a long list of research papers. Today, we're going to learn an essential skill to make that process much faster and smarter. We'll be looking at how to understand academic abstracts. So picture this. You have a big essay to write, and your reading list looks like a mountain of articles. It's a situation almost every student faces, right? It can feel pretty overwhelming, like you just don't have enough time to get through it all. But what if I told you there's a shortcut that can save you hours of work? That shortcut is called the abstract. And the best way to think about it is like a movie trailer. You know, before you decide to watch a whole movie, you watch the trailer. It shows you the main story and the most exciting parts. An abstract does the exact same thing for a research paper, helping you decide if you want to read the whole thing. So here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll define what an abstract is. Then we'll look at the main types you'll find. After that, we'll explore the different parts of an abstract and even read one together as an example. We'll also point out some useful language clues. And finally, we'll summarize everything in a handy toolkit. So, let's get started. What is an abstract? Well, it's basically a short, powerful summary that you'll always find right at the start of a research paper. Its main job is to give you a quick overview so you can figure out in just a minute or so if the whole article is actually useful for your project. Think of it as a time saver that protects you from reading something that isn't relevant. Now, it's important to know that not all abstracts look the same. They can come in a few different styles, and each one gives you a slightly different kind of information. The two most common types are called informative and descriptive. An informative abstract is like that full movie trailer we talked about. It gives you a complete summary of the paper, including the key results and conclusions. You learn exactly what the researchers discovered. A descriptive abstract, on the other hand, is more like a short teaser. It tells you what the paper is about, but it doesn't give you the results. For most of your work, you'll find the informative abstract much more useful. There's also a special kind of informative abstract called a structured abstract. This one is super organized. You'll recognize it immediately because it has clear headings for each section, like background, purpose, methods, results, and conclusions. This structure is really helpful because it lets you find the exact information you need very, very quickly. Okay, so even though abstracts cover all sorts of different topics, most of them follow a very similar structure. It's helpful to think of it like a story that has 5 main parts. Once you know these 5 parts, reading any abstract becomes so much easier. These 5 parts follow a really logical order. First, you have the introduction, which answers the question, what do we already know about this topic? Then comes the purpose, which tells you, what is this study about? After that, the methods section explains, how was the study done? Next up are the results, which answer what was discovered. And finally, the conclusion tells us, what do these findings mean?
Okay, that's the theory. Now, let's put it into practice. We're going to look at a real abstract together and see if we can identify those 5 parts we just talked about.
Here's the abstract we'll be looking at. The topic is the effect of anxiety on optimism. I suggest you pause for a moment to read the full text. When you're ready to continue, we'll go through it and analyze it section by section. All right, let's start at the beginning. The very first sentence tells us the purpose of the study. It says the study was designed to investigate the possibility that people's optimism is reduced by anxiety. So right there, we have a clear answer to the question, what is the study about? The next part explains the methods. We learn that the researchers examined 2 groups of English students. One group, the experimental group, was anxious because they were taking exams. The other group, the control group, was less anxious. This part clearly explains how the study was done. And now for the most important part, the results. What did they find? The abstract states very clearly that the anxious group were less optimistic than the control group. This is the main discovery of the research. Finally, we have the conclusion. The text ends by saying that negative affect may have a global effect upon optimism. This is the part where the researchers explain the meaning of their results. It answers the question, so what? Why does this finding matter? Okay, so now you know the 5-part structure, but here's another great tip to help you read abstracts even more easily. You can look for clues in the grammar, specifically in the verb tenses. There is often a clear pattern. The introduction and the conclusion usually use the present simple tense because they're talking about general truths. But the methods and results sections almost always use the past simple tense because they are describing actions that happen in the past. If you remember this pattern, it can help you quickly see which part of the abstract you're reading.
We've learned a lot today, so let's do a quick summary of the main points to remember. Think of this as your personal abstract reading toolkit.
So let's go over the key takeaways. First, an abstract is just a short summary of a research paper. Second, the movie trailer analogy is a perfect way to remember its function. Third, always try to find the 5 key parts. Fourth, paying attention to verb tenses can really help you navigate the text. And finally, the most important point, use abstracts to save yourself time and to find the very best research for your work. So there you have it. By using these ideas, you can now approach any academic abstract with a clear plan and with confidence. You have the skills to read them efficiently, understand them well, and use them to make your own research much stronger.